Shit crazy. Smoke to get my mind right. Chillin'. Trying to get my grind right. Fight for a spit. Smoke just to chill. Waiting on.
Fire for effect.
What's up, guys? RNG here from the Stone Vet USMC, man. Happy Friday. Look, got the red shirt Friday, right? How many of y'all wearing your red shirt today? Hopefully you guys got them, man. If you haven't yet, look, you can pick up the swag. Stone Vet USMC Bams's shirt over at thebrokenjawhead.com, man. You know I love when you guys wear my gear, able to get it out there and raise awareness to everybody. Who's the Stone Vet? What's the Stone Vet? What are we talking about? What are we doing, man? It's not always about cannabis, but let me tell you what, everybody I bring on the show, they're all advocates, dude. I'm just telling you flat out. A lot of them are advocates. A lot of them are users, and they just, you know, they just want to tell you it's medicine. It's honestly medicine. It's like any medication any doctor will put you on. It's the same concept. The only difference is the doctors ain't getting rich off of it. Congress isn't getting rich off of it. That's why it's still federally illegal. I think, like I said, I had Rico on the show recently, and he even said it's like 36 states and territories that have it, regardless if it's adult use or medicinal use. It's coming. I think it'll be here this year, honestly. I think by the end of the year, they're going to vote on it and finally federally decriminalize it, which is fingers crossed, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't need to be frowned upon anymore. It's all about breaking the stigma. That's what we try to do, is break the stigma of cannabis, you know? Man, it's Friday. I got the honor. I'm bringing on Mr. Ron Breland here from Warfighter Ranch. Guess what? He's another Army guy. Like I said, the Army guys always want to come hang out with the Marines because they want to try to blend in as much as they can, right? What's going on this Friday, Ron?
Oh, man, it is a beautiful Red Friday. And don't forget to remember everyone deployed, including Jesus, who deployed to heaven on the original Red Friday, which just passed us.
Absolutely.
And we're just loving it, man. You know, my wife's got her arm in a sling, but besides that, we're not slowing down for nothing around here.
She punched you too hard, didn't she?
I fell down the stairs again. That's it.
Right. Man,
It's
an honor to have you on the show, man. It really is. It's an honor to have you on the show. This is what it's always about. It's about hanging out, enjoying our time together. Because after we get out of serving, regardless if you serve 4 years or 40 years, you lose that camaraderie that you built while you was in. I mean, it astonished me still. Sometimes I'll bring on some brothers and sisters, interview, and they say, well, I never had that camaraderie while I was in. I was like, what did you do? Like, what kind of job did you have to where you didn't build camaraderie, you know? Me, I was an engineer, so we always had camaraderie. We're freaking
engineers.
I was elbows deep in engines and in engineering equipment, heavy equipment, generators, water purifiers, you name it. We were in there deep, and we spent 12 to 18 hours inside a diesel engine just trying to make sure we can get this thing up and running. But we built that camaraderie there, you know, so we were always together. You know, and you yourself, you say you was a firefighter, so I know you had some camaraderie there. I mean, you guys got each other's back. You guys got to take care of each other anytime something's on fire. I don't know how you guys do it. It's
a different ball game in the military fire service. It really is, because you get the same stuff that municipal fire departments get with car crashes and heart attacks and stuff. But then then there's days you're like, oh, by the way, we had a helo crash, or a plane came in with hot brakes, or somebody dropped 1,000 gallons of fuel on the ground. Call the EPA. We're like, okay, we got the same stuff, but some of our problems just get amplified because of the nature of it.
Absolutely. So you did some time in the Army. You retired from the Army? Is that right?
I did, sir. I did.
Yeah, man. This guy,
years in.
Man, you see this guy? This guy actually took the limit. He went past the limit. I guess it was a good time in service. That's why he was able to retire.
I should say, God knew what he was doing, because I got lucky and got medical.
Oh,
and I say that because when it happened, I didn't feel so lucky.
Right.
I was pretty irritable. Okay. I was the angry NCO guy.
Right.
All the time. And I'm like, the Army can't live without me. Bet
right.
They can't.
That's what I try to tell all my brothers and sisters when we were in, dude. I was like, look, when you leave, they're gonna replace you with somebody else. Plain and simple. It's gonna keep going. The military will
Sergeant
not
Freeland
stop.
is replaceable. That is
You
a
are
fact.
you are very much replaceable. And I think once we get older and we realize it, we're like, damn, we are. We're just, I mean, we are. We're just a body. You know, we're just a body and we are replaceable. And it sucks to say it whenever we, you know, we devote our life to the military like we do while we're serving. It's like, dang, dude, like it's time for me to go, man. I had a brother. He was an excellent Marine. He was expert in everything, just did everything perfectly, but he couldn't get promoted because they closed out his job. They wouldn't promote him, and so
Right.
after 8 years, they kicked him out. They said you got to go, and he's like, "This is all I've done. I've done everything I'm required to do, so I can get promoted, so I can move on." And they said, "Well, we don't need you no more." They booted him. I was like, all that
Yeah.
time, all that effort, all that money that the government spent to keep you here to do this job, and they said, "We don't need you no more." And and it sucks, dude. Like I said, I mean,
It's just rude, isn't it?
it's rude.
Yeah.
It sucks,
It's
right?
rude.
You know, and that's the whole purpose I do this show, though, is to help my brothers and sisters find a purpose again. What are we doing? How do we go? What do I need to do? They ain't got Sergeant G in the corner to tell them what to do, when to do it, and how to do it no more, right? I mean, as a sergeant of Marines, I mean that was what I had to do. I had to say, okay, you gonna work on this, you're gonna work on this, you're gonna work on this, you're gonna make sure that this is all fixed and running and operational. You go to lunch at this time, you come back from lunch at this time. We meet up as this time to go PT, we come back after PT.
You are so embedded in their lives.
Yeah.
Because they are your whole life as a
They
leader.
are. Right.
You're pushing troops. That's it. You know their wife's birthday, you know their kid's shoe size.
Right.
It's not like being a leader in the civilian sector, and that's the one that's a thing that's kind of that the civilian population seems to miss. Like if you're friends with a coworker, it's like a bonus. In the military, it's like, no, this is gonna happen because we're going to war together, we're gonna party together, we're gonna do everything together.
Everything.
And if you have good leaders pushing that mentality, that's what's going to happen.
Right.
And that's going to make for a better unit downrange and bring more people home.
Bring more people home. Absolutely.
That's the ultimate goal, you know?
Absolutely. So you did get some time in the Army. You actually got to go look. You got to go to a couple of places while you was in the Army, right? Why don't you elaborate us? Let us get to know who Ron is, Mr. Airborne Ron. Let's get to know Airborne Ron a little bit.
Well, I joined the Army in November of '90. It was it was after Saddam started pulling his mess, and we were going to invade. You know, they invaded Kuwait, and there was a massive push. It was like the recruiter's dream. Guys were throwing themselves at the recruiter's office.
Right.
They just wanted a chance. You know, it's like the Greatest Generation wants to jump Normandy Beach and punch a Nazi in the face. I want to do the same thing with Saddam and a couple of Hajis. You know, I'm just like, let's go. But it wasn't my time. I got to Fort Campbell after I got through basic and AIT, and everybody was gone. Fort Campbell, Clarksville, Tennessee, they were ghost town.
Gone. Yeah, I bet.
And the whole division was gone. So here's like 6 Army firefighters on the airfield, and we're just kind of like out there on our own, like, okay, I don't know if anybody knows we're here, but we showed up today. You know, it's just whatever. But, you know, and it's a different life. It's parts of it are like the firehouse, like you would think.
Right.
But the Army Fire Service is not backdraft. It's not. It's not.
It's not like backdraft, dude. It's not all crazy, you know.
Yeah, the MPs are closer to Reno 911 than they are, than we are to backdraft. But you know why? You know why God made cops, right?
Why is that?
So firefighters would have somebody to worship them. That's That's bad. I know that's bad. God forgive me for that. We'll have to get back to you on later on that one. But I missed the boat on that, and then because they were going to put our fire truck on the back of this C-17, or was it C-5 at the time, and it was between our fire truck and the commanding general's desk. So which do you think got on that aircraft?
Oh, the commanding general's desk.
It was not my fire engine. It was not my truck, man. I was so mad. We were over there at
like
AJAG.
two different sizes. Like seriously,
We were like, yeah, but they couldn't fit both. And I'm like, for whatever reason, I'm like, it's a C5, dude.
Right.
It's like a whale that flies.
Right.
And they couldn't get it all in there. And we just went and drove 100 yards back to the fire station, parked the truck, went and ate supper. We were pissed, man. We were like, bags packed, we're ready to go. So that didn't happen. And then, the Army firefighters fall into the engineer branch.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, SA brother. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's all about serving the castle.
Right.
Well,
the damn castle.
I used to serve the castle. Now I serve the kingdom. It's
there you go.
Different mentality.
Right.
But I did make the next bird out. I volunteered. We were watching TV at the fire station one night. I'll never forget it. And my squad leader, Dan Masters, poor guy, I put him through hell that day. I said, I think I'm going to volunteer. I heard the battalion's looking for drivers to go to Africa. Mom always said there were starving kids in Africa. I'll go help out. I can drive a fire engine. I can drive a Humvee. Let's do this.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, you go ahead. And we're watching TV in the day room. He wasn't even paying me no mind. And off I go and hop on the DSN line and call battalion. They patched me through to the sergeant major at home. Okay. You see where this is going for E4, Ron Breland? Yeah. So the next day, the next morning, we get called up to the company. And the first sergeant is on fire.
Oh, man.
Why the hell is one of my Joes calling the sergeant major at his house? Why is this happening? Right? He is flipping out. This is before we even got in his office. He met us in the back of the company, and he's yelling at us the whole way up to go around behind the counter and ops and the commander and then to his office. And then we get in there, and he goes, Breland, get out of here a minute. And he says, shut the door. And I don't know why he said shut the door, because I heard everything. There was no door there, right? So my poor squad leader's getting his ass ripped one side and down the other. Well, then I go in. So now it's my turn, right?
Right.
I go in, the phone rings, it's the sergeant major. First sergeant, tell Breland to get his ass up to battalion today. He's leaving in 3 days. Roger that, sergeant major. Breland, get the hell out of here. And I swear to God, that's as clean as it was, man. That was my E4 Mafia moment.
Woo!
Right there.
you got your deployment you wanted.
I went as close as you could go without dying that day. But then I did. We went over to Mogadishu, and there was an element, 68 of us from the 101st. And I'll never forget Thanksgiving Day. Major General Jack Keane went on to become General Jack Keane, Vice Army Chief of Staff. He's now a Fox contributor. You see him on the news all the time.
Right.
He's got that Boston accent, that huge chiseled face, and he's an intimidating. He's a big dude. He's like 6'6". So I mean, and then he's wearing those stars, and it's just, man, that's a lot of weight coming at you. And he left the whole division home at Thanksgiving to come over and spend the day with us.
Oh, ain't that
with
sweet.
68 troops out of 12,000. I'm like, that guy's got my vote in the future. I don't know what he's going to run for, but I'm in, man.
Right.
And then, but Mogadishu, that was my baptism by fire.
I bet. And you went during the 90s, right? During that time. It was exactly during that time. It was during the whole movie that people may not be, that a lot of us know, and we're like, oh yeah, I remember that movie.
Well, one of the biggest things about being a vet who served in Somalia is the first question everybody asks you is, are you a Ranger? No, dude. They didn't just send all Rangers to Somalia, man. They didn't just send all infantry or all aviation. They had a little bit of everything.
Because the damn movie said that's not how it happened.
But regardless of Hollywood and all that, you know what? Our boys did a bang up job over there. They did the absolute best with the absolute best.
Right.
And it was just that formidable of a situation. And when you're in a different country and they've got the numbers on you, I mean, at any time, that place was a powder keg. I mean, it was ready to blow any day. And then, originally it started out, we went over because they killed Pakistani peacekeepers.
Right.
And the UN got a U.S.-led coalition to go over and say, hey, these guys are just acting up. He's, General Hadid, he's acting the fool. His son at the time actually was a United States Marine. And they sent him over there, of course, to try and, quell the violence. I mean, who can talk to this guy but his kid?
Right.
Even though he's coming over as a U.S. Marine, which is probably a slap in the face to the old man.
Right.
But ironically, General Hadid died 3 years later in 96, and General Garrison retired the day after.
Damn.
Kid you not.
Wow.
And yeah, man, it's really neat. We work with my best friend Bobby. He's on our board. He was in Mogadishu with me. Adam Bird from Heroes Media Group. He he's an Afghanistan vet, airborne ranger guy. It allows us to stay in this community, and you see these new vets, like this new generation of vets. 2 of our sons are active duty right now.
Oh, wow.
And we have, I don't care if you're a warfighter that's been retired one day or 20 years, or if you've got kids active duty like me or not. But we have all still got just as much skin in this game,
right,
as we used to. And the reason I say that is because we know that they're the future.
Right.
When I see, no, we're going to get old and beat up, and maybe that dog won't hunt one day, but we are really good. The airborne and special operations community does one thing really, really well, and that's breed their own replacements.
Right.
Like, I retired. Now we gave them 2. Okay, so they got a 2-fer out of me. They're 3-fer if you count me. So, but we've served in the military since the Civil War.
Right.
My great grandfather, Battle of Gettysburg, a drummer, because some NCO had the wherewithal to say, let's not put a gun in this kid's hand because he's a child. But then they gave him a drum and sent him up front. So
you're like, what?
There had to be a lieutenant in the mix somewhere.
Right. There's some lieutenant trying to guide people. Say, hey, this is gonna be the best thing that we got. He's gonna be target practice.
You go, leader. You're our new leader, buddy.
Right.
And, he lost a leg to a cannonball wound, and I was literally that close to not being. So. Oh
wow.
Isn't
that crazy?
You look. My grandfather, greatest generation. When I deployed my 3rd deployment, I went to Mogadishu, then I went to Kosovo in 99 for the genocide, and then Iraq from 03 to 04. And we served at a base in Ramadi it was Camp Ramadi or Camp Junction City. It was right across from something you may have heard, Camp Blue Diamond.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's when Mattis was running the show over there. Well, he took over from General Swanwick from the 82nd Airborne, who had the area of responsibility.
Yeah.
And they did a division level change of command. And we went down to the phone and internet tent one day, and there's about 3,000 Marines in there trying to call home. And we're like, excuse me, what just happened? And that's when, Mattis went in pretty hard.
Yeah.
He went in hard and fast.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, a lot of people say, man, he just ran kind of slipshod. I know from the civilian media's perspective, it may have seemed like that, but I can tell you it was nothing less than surgical.
Right. Absolutely.
And because everything happens for a reason. Not a shot is fired that doesn't have to be.
Right.
But then again, he's not afraid to go in and, kick a door down in a mosque if a terrorist runs in there too.
Absolutely.
Because
not.
we're not playing.
Absolutely.
We don't play
Mad Dog Mattis, man. That's our neck. That's his generation's Chesty Puller. That's how we talk about him.
Yeah,
It's the Mattis.
he is, man. I mean, I mean, the guy spent his entire life, never got married. Now, I mean, you want to talk about dedicated.
Dedicated.
I mean, that guy bleeds liquid crayon, man. He really does.
No, that guy, yeah, that's why we worship him. So we're like, this guy's the next generation Chesty Puller. This is the next, like you said, he served his whole career, never got married, he took care of his Marines though. He made sure his Marines were taken care of. And that was the biggest thing, is that you want to look at a leadership, you look at his leadership traits, and you look at what he did and where he went, where he became, and his track record. He had an excellent track record with what he's done and stuff. You know?
Sure. He wasn't a politician though. He's a war fighter. He's a war fighter.
That's why he didn't last long as Secretary of Defense.
On, man.
He was like, I ain't gonna do this. He tried it for a little bit. He's like, I ain't doing this. I quit. I resigned as Secretary of Defense. I'm not doing it.
I got a Mad Dog Mattis story for you. I made 2 bracelets. I made one called A Promise Made, and it said it was his quote, be professional, have a plan to kill everyone you meet.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a promise. And then the other one was when he got to Iraq, he said, I didn't bring any artillery, I didn't bring any heavy stuff. If you mess with me, I will kill you all.
Yep.
And that was the quote on the one bracelet. And then the other one is called A Promise Kept. And that's after he became SecDef, got all the guns, and dropped the Moab in Afghanistan. Remember that?
Yeah.
22,000 pounds of boom. And I was like, oh my goodness. Oh, man.
He said, I just want to try it once.
That's why he had that job. I'm like, man, how many times?
Nobody else would have done it. Nobody else would have done it.
No, the only reason I think we dropped one is because we probably didn't have 2 handy.
Right.
I think he would have gone all in, man.
Right.
He doesn't go halfway.
Yeah.
But when I got back from Iraq in 2004, I knew that I was going to be medically retired.
Right.
I had a TBI probably from Mogadishu. There was a truck explosion outside the gate, and I was probably 50 yards away, and I got knocked on my butt. My feet were like in the air. I'll never forget, this captain was walking up to me, and he salutes me with his rifle. And he barely gets it straight up, and I just see his body start leaning. I'm like, what the hell's he doing? And then I'm like, oh, we're both moving. And it was just crazy. And, back then, they didn't know what a TBI was.
Right.
PTS was only in the DSM like 5 years back then.
Right.
So it wasn't really widely known as that. Everybody knew something was going on.
Right.
The vets all knew.
Right.
But, we have to fight harder against that enemy now, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's easier in this element outside the wire here it's easier to isolate. It's easier to just say, screw it, I'm not doing that today. And it's like, no, you have to fight. You have to fight every day. Get up, make your bed.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to find your purpose, and you have to find what passion is driving you. Why are you waking up today? Why did you wake up today? You didn't wake up just to lounge around and do nothing, unless you are retired and you're like, I'm just going to lounge around for a couple of weeks before I need to figure out my purpose again and find my purpose again. But for those brothers and sisters that are out there, what are you doing now? Why do you wake up every morning? There's a reason why you're waking up every morning, but what is your drive? What is continue to push you to continue going forward, to continue doing what you need to do in this life, And so after you got your medically discharged from the Army, how was your transition from the Army to becoming a civilian?
In 2005, there were no warrior transition brigades. It was like, go to your appointments. Oh, you're out tomorrow? Okay. And it's just like that.
No, absolutely.
The Army keeps moving along, and the Army goes rolling along, just like this song says.
Absolutely.
And you realize, I'm giving away gear. I'm giving away boots to my troops and stuff. I mean, just my old spit shine jump boots I gave to one guy, and he went on to go infantry and then special forces.
Oh, wow.
And he said, yeah, I put those jump boots to good use. I said, well, I'm glad, man. I really am glad. Because, it's one of those things, and you watch each other grow as people. But when I got out, the transition was hard because there was literally nothing.
There's nothing there. Like for me, I got out in 2009. I went from 01 to 09 is when I got out. And the transition, they give you like a week-long class. So like, all right, you can go to this training for a week, and they're supposed to help you learn. You're supposed to teach you how to write a resume, hopefully get your disability started, and hopefully you get the resources you need. And we all know it's garbage. We all know it's
none of that in 05.
Yeah, see, so for you in 05, you didn't have the opportunity for them to prepare you for the civilian world.
In 05, I had to retire, get where I was going to finally settle, start going to the VA, and then start my VA claim. Yeah, that's how it was back then.
Yeah.
And then I went to, same thing with Social Security.
Right.
There's sometimes it's not an option whether you're going to be employable or not. And I was definitely in the unemployable category. Like, man, put this guy behind a glass case that says break in case of war.
Right.
And that's how I saw myself. And, but I wasn't raised in the Bible. I wasn't raised in a very strong faith environment.
Right.
And when I figured out that it was free, for everybody, that was a hell of a realization, because I was like, hello, what, at some point, you think somebody would have loved me enough to, and it wasn't. It's not even that, I don't, not forgive anybody or hold anything.
We would like to give a huge thanks to Rafa 180. Rafa 180 offers pure medicinal CBD and products made locally. They walk alongside individuals to achieve a healthy lifestyle with options needed by each person. You can learn more about them on Facebook at Rafa CBD, their website www.rafa180.com, or email at rafacbd@gmail.com. They truly believe your journey matters.
Anybody,
right?
You don't know what you don't know. You can't teach what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
And I didn't raise my kids that way because I didn't know.
Right.
And now I find myself going back. But here's the great thing. Here's the coolest part about that. God can time travel.
Right.
Okay? God can take you back to a place where you were hurt, where you were injured, where you were somehow wounded. And that's the mission of Warfighter Ranch, is to heal the hidden wounds of the heart, mind, and soul of the warfighter through Christ. That's it. That's our mission statement.
Absolutely.
And it's not, whether we use horses to do that, or take them fishing, or sit around in a group and listen to Kason Jim tell stories about the old days. Dude, I'll listen to that till he's run out of breath.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because once they're gone, that's gone.
That's it. Yeah, the stories are gone. The stories are gone now, and they don't go on.
Yeah, and it's funny. I got that. I'll send you a link to that video, man. It's pretty neat. It's an early video. The volume's kind of crappy, but you get the gist of it. And he was a 0351, which I think is a mortar guy.
Yeah, mortar man, I think.
Yeah, and yeah, man, it's funny because I had a Desert Storm buddy in our group too, and he was an 0351. And to watch these two guys next to each other, you'll see in the video, it's like they're like cut out of the same cloth, man. These two guys were like the same person. And you're like, the difference between the two, the years, the decades in between the two, you're just like, made no difference. You're still the same. You're the same Marine, bro. You really are. And I loved it. But you know what I saw? I learned from the Marines when I was a kid. It's because my dad's buddies would come over and they'd spend the weekend. And, when you grow up, you figure out, oh, they were just drinking, getting trashed all weekend. It was back in the 70s, right? But what they were really doing is they were calling out to each other. Right. Because I would wake up in the morning. I've always been an early riser, and there'd be 4, 5, 6, 10 guys lined up, sleeping on the floor, spooning each other just like they did in the jungle 10 years before that. You know what I mean? Right. And I didn't know what the hell all this meant. I'm like, oh, and you're growing up, you can have sleepovers. That's awesome, or whatever. But it doesn't work the other way, because if you ask me if I want to go camping now, I'm going to say pound sand.
Right.
I have no desire to go camping.
That's what I tell my wife. She gets mad at me. She's like, you never want to go camping. I said, because I don't sleep outside. I don't like sleeping outside. I've done it. I've done enough sleeping outside. I don't want to do it anymore.
Helen's told me she likes the taste of the MREs. And I'm like, that's because you've never been forced to eat them and nothing but them.
Yeah. I remember when I was in Iraq back in 2003. I said, that's what we have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We didn't have a chow hall. They said MRE's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was like, I eat one of these a day, dude. That's all I need. I had so many stacked up because I was like, I can't eat all this crap. There's so many calories in just one. Three times a day.
I don't know if I could burn all that off, man. I'd be 400 bucks on the Fat Boy program by the time I left country. It'd be terrible.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
I'd get a C5 just for me.
Right. No lie. So now that you've gotten out now, like, I mean, I'm sure you like any one of us brothers and sisters, is you suffer from PTS, you suffer from anxiety, you suffer from depression and stuff, You and your wife went ahead and started this Warfighter Ranch, right? To help your family deal with those ailments that we received from serving our country, right? We all serve our country, and when we get out, these are part of the ailments that we receive. I mean, that's what I tell people. I say, you go to boot camp, you got PTS, plain and simple. They're like, what do you mean? I said, because when you went in, you were somebody else, and when you graduated, you're whatever branch you join, you are whatever they wanted you to be now. Right. You're no longer you anymore. You're no longer Ron. You're no longer Sergeant G. You're no longer Juan. You are no longer who you were when you first went in.
And you think of these poor drill sergeants. These guys have 55 days to turn a civilian into a warfighter.
Right.
And it sounds impossible, because you remember going back and you're like, man, and then you have, if there's anything, like some troops a knucklehead, if there's anything that doesn't jive with the training schedule, it throws everything off.
Right.
And, any drill will tell you, never miss movement, never miss chow, and you'll be all right.
Right, absolutely.
Well, unfortunately, it's like herding cats in between. It's kind of like having kids,
Trying to get them all in the same place at the same time.
But long term, what we want to do with the ranch, we want to have it to where the veteran will come out for they'll come out for a month. So it'll be a 30-day program. Yeah. It's not a retreat. It's not a weekend getaway. We're going to poke you right in the chest and say, how do you feel about that? What do you think about that? And we're going to force people to face these things that seem insurmountable, but just like in the battlefield, you know what? We're going to share that suffering together, and it's going to make it more bearable.
Right.
Just by nature of us being there together. Right.
Right.
And, where two or more are gathered, well, that's you and me right now, brother.
Absolutely.
So, and anybody that listens, more power. Let's bring them on, man. Absolutely. So my mom always said, we can always feed one more. Bring them in.
Always feed one more, right? And with your ranch, what you're doing, I mean, it's a faith-based ranch, right? You're saying the Lord has brought us here. You know what I'm saying? The Lord has brought us here together, right?
There's no internet. There's no TV. There's certainly no mainstream media. There's certainly none of that business. And when people come to us, they a lot of people say, well, a lot of ministries do a lot of different things. I'm like, well, we're focused on one. That's the warfighter. That's it.
Right.
Their family. We have our divorce rate hovering at over 80% sustained for over 2 decades.
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest things. That's one of the biggest things for us veterans. I mean, I've talked to my brothers and sisters, and hell, this past winter, I must have known 10 people who were getting a divorce. And I'm like, what happened? Like, what is going on? Like me, I'm blessed beyond all measures. I've been with my wife for 21 years. We're about to celebrate 21 years together this April.
Us too, man.
At the end of this month, we're going to be celebrating 21 years that we've been together. We've been married for 19 and been together 21, been married for 19. And I mean, by the grace of God, that she's still with me, honestly, because of the stupidity, because of the stupidity I've done, you know. But like you said, we are for us veterans, it's unheard of for a lot of people to say, "Oh, I'm still with my first wife." You're like, "Whoa, what are you doing? To where you still with the first wife?" You know, because a lot of us, like you said, they're on the second, the third, the fourth, the hell, fifth, sixth, and you're just like, "Damn!" Like
we're both on our second. I married the first sergeant's daughter, my first wife. Yeah. You think I would have had one friend that would have said, "Hey, man, you might want to think this through," but
right.
but it was all part of the plan. I got my oldest boy Gary, who's serving in South Korea now, and Austin and Bailey, the twins. Bailey works in Clarksville, Tennessee, and Austin is stationed at Fort Drum currently with the 10th Mountain Division.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they're just getting out of a pretty horrible winter.
I bet, right?
It's a wet and nasty New York winter up there. It really is.
Yeah, I bet. So with your ranch, that's what you're doing, is helping us rebuild ourselves, right? Rebuild us to where we're able to more emotionally connect with our spouse.
We're going to show you the biblical model of manhood and womanhood, because while I'm working with, say, you, what's your wife's name?
Summer.
Helen will be in constant contact with Summer, or the team mentor assigned to be with this group of 3 or 4 guys and their wives, their families. So Helen will be talking to Summer. Helen will be getting to know all about the kids and stuff. And then what happens at the end of that 3-week period of going through and teaching you, you ask 1,000 guys, what is a man to you? You're going to get 1,000 different answers.
Right.
Some guys are going to say Marine. Some guys are going to say Chuck Norris. Some guys are going to say, Juan the Stone Bet. I mean, whatever. Right. But what God says a man should be is a far cry from what we are seeing today.
Right.
And that design goes hand in hand. It's interlaced with the first institution that God created, that being marriage. So the man is meant to be a certain way, and a woman is meant to be a certain way. Right. Always says if you have an Ephesians 5 man and a Proverbs 31 woman, you have a pretty good marriage,
Right.
But, I just wanted a Proverbs 31 woman with a badonkadonk. That's just me, man, But, you'll never meet another chaplain like me. But, the cool part is, I tell people all the time, they're like, your wife's a minister? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm sleeping with my minister. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's okay though. And they're like, why? I'm like, because it's ordained, baby. This is the unique position God has put me in, my man.
Right.
How could I not be happy about that?
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Well, what you're doing though is awesome, because like I said, you didn't have the opportunity to transition out of the military. 90% of us, if we do get to transition, it's a shitty transition out of the military to figure out what do we do. And like you said, you went to Mogadishu. You went and you got to explore the world in some of the worst times during the world. There are some of the worst times in the world in history, And then they said, "All right, go. We're done with you. You getting out? We're done with you." And you're like, now I got all this crap going on inside my head, and it's like, what am I supposed to do?
Everybody I want to talk to about it is back in my old life. And I'm surrounded by nobody who knows what I'm talking about even.
Right.
And let's be honest, civilians don't always react in the best way.
Right.
When they hear certain things.
They're scared of you when you start talking to them. They're like,
yeah, they get a little concerned, or the eyebrow goes up. Maybe they pull their person a little closer. You're like, what do you think I am?
I'm just talking. I'm not even doing anything. I'm just talking,
and then, but that brings us back to it. You were worth it.
Right. You were worth it.
You were worth it. Yeah. Regardless if you appreciate it or not. That's between you and God.
Right.
I did my job.
Absolutely.
And there are those who know what we did, and they appreciate the things that America's military does. And I'm cool with that. But even if they don't, that's cool, because God says my grace is sufficient.
Absolutely.
You know, Paul had a thorn in his side, and he asked God 3 times.
To remove it, right?
3 times he asked him.
Will you remove this from my side?
Now, you got to know after that first time, right, of getting a negative response, you know, he probably walked off and he was like, all right, maybe I need to think about this. I need to approach this a little different here. All right, let me do this. And I go up and ask him again. Nope, it's good right where it's at. But you know what it did? It kept Paul humble.
It did.
Because Paul was a religious he was a Pharisaic scholar, and I mean he knew all of it
Right.
by the book, but he didn't have any of it in here.
No, absolutely.
He did. He just didn't know how to let it out.
Yeah. And that's us as veterans, right? Us
That's us,
as war fighters.
That's us all day long.
All day long.
It's not a shameful thing to love somebody, to care about somebody, to be a good person, to be nice, to be kind to people. Veterans are amazing at that stuff. These are the givers of all givers. These are the people that will list up to and including their life to, you know, at the risk of sounding like a cliche, but it's true. And
Right.
they need a reminder of that every now and then. Not the civilians. The vet community needs a reminder that, you forgot how special you are.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm here to remind you. Because I don't want to see you go down. I want to be in heaven. It's not clouds and Cupid, little baby butts and arrows. It's not that, man. I mean, God knows, you know, you don't fight an enemy. I mean, he even gave the angels weapons. Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, that's
Right.
that. But I want to be there, and I want to talk stories and talk smack and laugh with Juan for eternity.
Right.
And I know I got that opportunity now. So
Absolutely.
I'm like stoked about it, man.
It's awesome. Yeah. It's true.
This community is amazing. But if, you know, I look around at some of the people that I talk to, some of my friends list and stuff, and I'm just a guy, man. I'm just a soldier. And I look at some of these people, and this is like the who's who of people in the military.
Right.
I mean, I got a buddy who was at Operation Eagle Claw, okay, Desert One. All right. I got, I mean, all these, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, if I could listen to you for the rest of my life, I probably would.
Mm-hmm.
Just to, you know, and then I find some of these guys are coming back because after my meltdown, dude, I still have people that say, Ron, I thought you died. Yeah. And like, no, man, I've been back on social media for like 1.5 years now, and I'm back stronger than ever. And this is how it is now. And
absolutely.
You're not going to get the angry Ron. You're not going to get, and I take shots. Don't get me wrong. You're in ministry, you're going to take some shots.
Oh, you will. But I mean, like you said, I mean, that's one of the biggest things that us veterans, I know that's one thing that I suffer from, is my anger issues. I got anger issues. And one of the biggest things my wife tells me right now is that I don't emotionally connect. I don't open up emotionally. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, I don't know what you mean. Like, okay. Like she's talking to me, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, I truly don't know. I'm for a loss of words. Like, I don't know what that even means.
I wish you were here in Arizona, Juan, because what I would do is I would have you over and sit in my recliner right there, and we would have some time. But that's okay because we still got Zoom.
Right.
But, yeah, man, it's really neat. Before I forget, we want to mail you something. I want to send you out a package of some stuff that we give out to our vets or whatever, and just, you know, so you get it.
Absolutely, yeah, I absolutely appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely.
And send something for your wife too, because If I send some for the guy, it always gets stolen every time. Every time the wife or the kids steal it. So I gotta send 2 now. I already know that.
Absolutely. No.
So yeah,
No, but I mean, yeah, I mean that's one of the things. I mean, with what you're doing with Warfighter Ranch, that is one of the things that is like we suffer from so much. Is like, how are we able to open up more? How are we able to speak, just to talk normally to people, to I was talking with a buddy of mine. I actually just recently received my 100% disability from the VA. And it was it was a brother of mine, an Air Force brother of mine. He was like, you need to go check these guys out. Go here and get you a VSO, check them out. And the guy that he told me to go to he no longer worked there, but I went ahead and grabbed me a VSO from that organization. And I was able to get my 100%. So I texted him and I said, "Hey, brother," I said, I want to thank you for sending me that direction, because without that help, I wouldn't have known where to go to get my 100%. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us are fighting for it. You know.
Here's the mentality with that: each one, teach one.
Right.
So whatever you've gone through with your process, now I'm sure, there's no two. We're not cookie cutters. Okay.
No, absolutely.
But everybody's process is different. And even though the VA still works in the same framework for all of us,
yeah,
it's never an identical journey for 2 troops. So, but you have to, I mean, we've got some vets going through vet court, working out, issues when they still had issues that were unresolved, and
right.
legal issues.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hey, Chaplain Ron spent a night in jail. I'll be the first to admit it. You know what? Paul went to prison.
Right.
Now I can relate to that better.
Absolutely. That's the thing, because my buddy was like, man, it was just a hard day. I'm glad to hear good news today, and then I didn't ask him what was wrong. And I told my wife that. She's like, why didn't you ask him what was going on? I said, because I didn't want to be nosy. He had a bad day. We all have bad days. She's like, but that's when you're supposed to ask them, what's going on, brother? Is there something I can help you with? Or is there something? I was like, I don't know this. I said, I don't know. I just thought it was just a bad day. I mean, hell, we all have bad days. I don't pry into it to say, well, what's going on, brother? Is there something I can help you with? And she's like, that's what you're supposed to do. I'm like, well, I don't know. That's one of the things we
weren't taught to be that way, then we don't know how to be that way. And that's okay, because the good news is we can learn.
Right.
Because at that point, if somebody tells me I'm having a bad day, I'm getting in your ass. I'm jumping in neck deep, because I don't want to leave you alone tonight and then read about you in the paper tomorrow morning. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And it's worth that to me.
Absolutely.
Because, and then eventually, God willing, stuff works. And then these guys come out of it. They start doing better. They start making things happen. They join an organization. You have to have a purpose.
Right.
You have to have a purpose. And your purpose is to show love to one another.
No, absolutely.
And it's not all Cupid and all this stuff. It's, how do the warfighters do that? Well, maybe it's go helping your buddy move.
Right.
Showing up with your truck. Or just maybe it's just showing up and listening.
Right.
That's love. That's, it's the definition and the specifics of the verbiage itself that always trips us up with these things. It's the same thing as faith versus religion. We don't do religion here.
Yeah.
It's all faith.
It's
Father,
all faith,
Son, Holy Spirit, and the Bible. That's it.
That's it.
Because that's all there is. Everything else is man-made.
Absolutely.
And therefore it does not matter. So if I come to you guys and say, I put a message out and say, well, this one's just for the Catholics, or this one's just for the Muslim brothers out there. I mean, no, that's not what it is. It's lottie-dottie, everybody. Right. Jesus didn't come for one. He came for all. For
all, right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we forget that sometimes.
No, absolutely. We do.
And so with
the things you're doing there at Warfighter Ranch, I mean, it's awesome, because people are able, us brothers and sisters are able to come there and say, hey, we're going to try to get you to be able to relate, to be able to understand, and be able to be more loving to other people. And
because the world tells you what's important to the world. God doesn't care about that.
Right.
Because when you leave here, you can't take nothing with you, and you're going to come in this world just like you'll leave it.
Right.
You know? So if that, once that reality sets in, you're like, well, I'm wasting time not being happy.
Right.
And it's not just about happiness. It's about finding that joy. And that joy only comes from the Holy Spirit. When you hold your baby for the first time,
right,
when you get married, when your grandmother hugs you, you feel that joy. That is from the Holy Spirit. Happiness comes from man, you know?
right.
And I don't know. It's just, it's pretty black and white to me.
Yeah.
When it comes to that stuff, it really is. And, this is another rabbit hole we could probably go down. People, a lot of vets are like, well, what does the Bible say about what's going on today? And I tell them, I share with them about, Timothy, and I share with them the verse that launched this ministry, which is Isaiah 6:8. And the Lord said, whom will I send and who will go for us? And I said, here am I, send me.
Right.
And the moment that happened, and the prophet Isaiah was here on the mountain, and he's sitting there and he got his lips touched with coals and his lips weren't burned. And the angel said, now you're clean. Do you know why that happened?
Why is that?
Because even the angel knew that Isaiah, as a man, even as a prophet, as a man born of other men, he would hold back. He would not feel himself worthy. He wouldn't feel himself good enough, so he wouldn't put himself forward 1,000% into that mission without that happening. He was given that gift. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And look what it's all launched since then,
That's awesome.
And he was 1,000 years before Christ.
Right.
and he wrote it like it happened the day after. It was
the day
crazy.
After, right? The day after. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And, I love going through this stuff with, or somebody will quote a common phrase or something, and I'm like, that's from the Bible, right? And they're like, are you serious?
What?
Yeah, dude, some stuff really does last,
Absolutely.
It wasn't all invented, telling these high school kids, there was life before 2015, okay? Calm down. Things happen. We had electricity and stuff,
Absolutely, man. Well, Rob, I really appreciate you coming out this Friday, man, hanging out with me, telling me about your Warfighter Ranch and how you are helping our family grow, dude. Like, this is what it's about. This is why I do this show. I like to bring my brothers and my sisters on. We get to reminisce about the good old days of when we were serving, that camaraderie that we lost after getting out. And now we get to hang out for an hour, enjoy our time together, enjoy just to catch up, to see where are we at now, what are we doing, and how we are assisting, how we found our purpose and our drive to continue pushing forward, right? Because every time I do a show, we're losing a brother or a sister, right? That's the statistic right now, 22 veterans a day, right? And that's not counting the ones that are dying from opioid addiction. My thing is the Stone Vet. It may be frowned upon because a lot of people don't like saying the Stone Vet. I said it's more relevant now because of the era that we're in. I use the term the Stone Vet because guess what, dude? It's cannabis.
People get hung up on the words, man.
People get hung up on words, right? And my goal is to break the stigma of the cannabis plant because guess what? It's a plant. It's like what we just planted flowers last night in the garden. It's just like flowers.
God made it.
It has its own terpene makeup. I didn't get in trouble to go to Lowe's to go pick up some flowers to put in the garden. But God forbid I plant some seeds and cannabis grows in the garden and people are like, oh, you can't have this, right? And you're like, hold on. It's just a flower. It's just a plant. Like you can't get mad because of the medicinal benefits that come from the plant because like you, right? The Lord said, plant it. It's the natural medicine's there, right?
That's right. And you know what? I mean, if I brought you home flowers, would you be complaining? No. So what's the difference? Yeah.
Right.
And now, just like anything else, though, and this is the thing that everybody worries about most with that is that people would eventually abuse it or it would become an habitual problem. And that can happen.
It can.
When I use my vape, I do not use it around people who I know are recovering addicts. I do that as a courtesy to them because I'm not going to sit here and rub your nose in it. I mean, I'm not going to be that guy, and I'm certainly not going to be the one to tempt you. Juan, before we finish up here, Juan, can I ask you a huge favor, brother?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you mind if I said a quick prayer for the Warfighter Nation?
No, absolutely. Go ahead and say it. Let's go.
All right, brother. Appreciate it. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this day and this time with Juan, and please bless him and his wonderful wife and his beautifully huge family, Lord. We can't wait to meet them one day. Please be with all the troops downrange and the families left behind. Please be with every warfighter who listens to this and their families. Please help them ease their heart through these hard times our nation's going through. Lord, we know they hated you first and that this too shall pass. We love you and we ask you this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen, brother. Amen. I really appreciate it. Brother.
Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it, brother. I really do appreciate you coming on the show and hanging out with us and just telling us about what you're doing and how you found your drive again, man. It's like I tell you guys every show.
Sometime, man.
No, absolutely. That's what I tell my family on the show. What is your purpose? What are you doing now that you've gotten out? Your time of service has come to an end, but guess what? It's not at an end, right? Like you at Warfighter Ranch, you said my purpose is to continue providing resources for my family to allow them to live a better life and a happier life.
We still got a lot left in us.
There's still a lot left in us, right?
There's a lot of amazing left in all of us.
Absolutely. And
no one is more resourceful than the warfighter.
Absolutely, right? We warfighters are very resourceful. We have resources, and there's plenty of resources out there to help us with whatever we want to do. You want to start a business? I know somebody. You want to get a nonprofit going? I know somebody. You want to help a nonprofit? I got plenty of those guys that need a lot of help. They always need help.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So reach out to me, the Stone Vet, Sergeant G. I put all my information is always on the show. You always have my information there, how to reach me. For Ron here with the Warfighter Ranch, I'll have all his information in the description box down below on how you can reach out to him and how you can assist his nonprofit to continue allowing it to grow, to continue providing resources, man. You guys don't forget to hit that daggum subscribe button so we can get this information out to everybody. Like Ron said, he has his own YouTube and he's like, I can't get people to subscribe. I'm like, I'm trying to figure it out too, brother. I don't know.
I'm going out to the mailbox. I'm like, it's free, right?
It's free. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button. That's it. Just hit the subscribe button. So
the algorithms are killing me, man.
You know? And so, man, Ron, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you hanging out with me here on this Friday to be able to just raise awareness and help our family find their purpose again, man.
Absolutely, man. And you know what? God is smiling on the Warfighter Nation. He
Absolutely,
really is.
Sir. Absolutely, guys. Remember, guys, here at the Stone Vet, we got you 6. I appreciate it, sir.
When your life going down, grab a pound, smoke, chill, relax. It's Friday. You ain't got a job, we gon' get high today. Dark of the flesh, the deep of the roots, green of the weed. You know this is true. Puff, puff, pass, trying to get high. Got high blood pressure.